You're watching Now. In half an hour, the latest financial news from across the Atlantic in American business today. And that's after Living Now.
Hello, welcome to Homeworks.
Living Now's weekly look at how to make the most of where we live. Hello, this is Homeworks. Whether you live in a semi, a flat, a mansion or a cottage, this is the only regular series on television which takes an active interest in the look of your home and garden.
That's right, and today Homeworks is at home with 4 architects, each of whom have built themselves 4 very different houses. But before we see them, Susy Smith from the magazine House Beautiful is here to tell us just how passionately interested we all are in our own homes.
For most people, buying a home is the largest, most expensive investment they'll ever make. 2/3 of us in this country actually own our own homes, the highest proportion of any European country. Our homes are our second skins. You have to be comfortable in them, but we can't ignore the fact that they say a lot about us. Did you know we spend over £8 billion a year on our homes, and that we're as likely to own a screwdriver as a television, and that means 90% of us. Over the last 30 years, the number of people who own their own homes has doubled, from 7 million to over 14 million. And that in the whole of 1989, over 185,000 houses were built. Britain has a total mortgage debt of £250 billion. The average house can cost as much as 5 times the average salary. And to make matters worse, we don't always get what we bargained for. 85% of all new homes purchased are actually chosen by women. Women decide when to move and where to move and what colour to paint the house when they get there. However, when it comes to DIY, men are in the forefront. 50% of all men wield their hammers and paintbrushes every month, whereas only 1/4 of women do. How do you decide on the style of your house? Most of us think that what our house looks like on the inside is extremely important, yet 75% haven't got the confidence to know if their taste is okay. You may like this bright green carpet, but will your friends like it too? It's through these insecurities in our sense of style that the kings of coordination and off-the-peg good taste merchants like Next, Laura Ashley and Habitat have thrived, creating the total look for our living space.
Shopping comfort. Take our advice. We've got the choice.
And now, what we all lived with in the 80s. There were high-tech interiors to go with the go-getting Filofax generation of the early 80s. We moved up market, from the primary coloured buckets of Habitat to the stylishly clean-cut vases of Conran. And when we were fed up with city living, we went in search of the wholesomeness of outdoor life, redesigning our homes to look like country cottages, without the inconvenience of moving to the country. And our favourites were stripped pine, chintz and stripped pine.
Thank you very much, Susy. And Susy Smith will be reporting on the home front for us over the next few weeks. Homeworks will be going behind closed doors to discover some fascinating and unusual interiors, looking at the latest in furniture design and solving your problems in order for you to make the most of your home.
Well, basically, you can't live without plastic. You know, plastic is beautiful. It comes in lots of nice colours, and basically, I use plastic every day.
Più cosa son, cosa faccio, ho di fuoco Russum, non il ghiaccio, ogni donna che ciardi colore, ogni donna mi fa palpitar, ogni donna mi fa palpitar, ogni donna mi fa palpitar. Salva in nome d'amore di diletto, me se turba mi sente di petto,
Our homeworks decided to take a look at some of the houses architects themselves live in. Trevor, Ward and Pennie met 4 architects who see their homes as prototypes for modern living.
To make a house or a flat into a home, it has to have the imprint of that particular person. The home is the place where people's creativity can take place quite privately. They can do actually what they want without the world seeing it. My wife and I have always wanted, in a way, to have our own place, but we've never been able to because we didn't have any money, we had lots of children, you know, the usual things. And then it came to the point where we could. Every Christmas and Easter for about 3 years, we used to sit down and discuss the design of the house. It evolved during those periods because I didn't have any time in between, you see. And we quite quickly got to the basic understanding of what we wanted was that we didn't want a completely open plan, but we didn't want a completely closed one. And we wanted a series of very specific spaces which had their own individuality, but also were linked spatially, so the eye could easily go from one to the other.
Richard Burton's house is situated in Kentish Town in North London, behind the very house where he and his wife used to live, so that over the 16 months it took to build, they could watch the progress from their window.
So the next thing was to decide what those spaces should be, and since we got a very large family, we decided to have a big dining kitchen, and that was a luxury we'd never had before. We then decided as a social room where visitors would come and so on. The living room was an extremely good solution, and finally there's Mireille's study, which is beyond, which is again a quite different room. It's a cosy room, if you like. It's a place where we retire, maybe sometimes to be quiet and so on. And we linked all these with this conservatory that you see here. And this is something that is our permanent garden, if you like.
Have you in any way tried to mix it in with surrounding buildings?
Well, we've taken the context of where we're going to live, a context which is very much related to gardens belonging to other people, to garden walls, for instance. But we've also been very lucky to have an enormous plane tree which grew in the site, which we've managed to keep and actually built the house around it. So, in fact, we have a dining kitchen which we can look up through a lantern and see the bottom of a plane tree. In fact, so we live under a tree without all the disadvantages. Why don't you come and have a look at the kitchen?
How do you see houses in the 90s and onwards into the 21st century?
I see that in the future people are going to move back into the cities. There's going to be much more housing built in the centre of cities. Housing and work are going to be much closer related. And you may very well have working studios, for instance, where people live on top and work underneath. People are, for instance, beginning to be able to work at home much more now than they ever used to. And so we'll begin to see a different pattern of housing arising, the move back to the middle of cities and working and living close by. I mean, I've made a kind of motto for that, which is a walk to work, and I think that should become our motto.
Rob and Spence used to live in a traditional house of bricks and mortar, but for the last 9 years has lived in Belsize Park Gardens in London in a house made from aluminium, steel and glass, so there's nothing to go rusty and nothing that needs painting either. His inspiration comes from houses built in California in the 1950s. I asked him why he designed the house the way he had.
Oh, well, that's a big question. First of all, I wanted a lot of light. We wanted a lot of space. The other thing is that we wanted flexibility, because most conventional houses, if you think about it, are just designed for living, or rather for sleeping and eating and watching television, not very little else. So we wanted a house that was actually able to do a lot more besides that.
So what else do you do besides watching TV, sleeping, etc.?
Well, we do all sorts of things. We work at the front section of the house, in the front section. That's a studio where I do my work. In the living room, all sorts of things happen. We have regular architectural evenings, which about 40 people attend. And then we have musical performances as well. And once we actually had a concert for 110 people.
With all this glass, doesn't it feel a bit like living in a goldfish boat?
No, not at all. Well, the thing is, it seems that we've been involved to work outdoors. Our whole physiology is set up for outdoor living. And our psychology works best when we're outdoors as well. In other words, we function best when we're working at high light levels. There's a lot of medical research which shows that people suffer from lack of light, especially in the winter, which is why why we use a lot of glass.
How would you sum up your general philosophy towards architecture?
Well, now that's a very big question again. But architecture is really about light and space. Those are the two most important things about they're the two qualities of architecture. And the intention to me the whole point of architecture to me is to give the greatest quality of life to the greatest number of people.
What would you say to the fact that some people may think that this low-rise glass and steel development jars with the rest of the houses, because we are in the middle of Belsize Park Gardens?
Right. Yes, it's a very sensitive area actually from a planning point of view. In fact, it's a conservation area, so it had to be something that was the planners would accept for a start, and it had to be something that respects the neighbours. And in fact, this site has always been a garden, and it's always been bounded by this 2-metre wall along the front. And we've simply replaced the wall, really, with a similar-looking wall. And as far as anyone in the street's concerned, it doesn't really look very much different from how it's always looked. And it respects the light and views of all the surrounding houses. The alternative would have been a 5-storey block. The plans wouldn't have accepted anything in between that. And a 5-storey block would obviously have cut out views and light from all the surrounding properties.
Are you very keen on one-storey or low-rise buildings?
Well, I like it very much, yes. I think I'd always rather live in a single-storey house, really. It's very nice being able to walk out from any room into the garden. You know, it's just, and you've got the potential for these great big vistas that you get from one end of the house to the other. It feels very liberating to the spirit, you know, to have these great horizontal expanses of space. I love living here. Don't really want to live anywhere else. There's no house in London where I'd rather live.
You wouldn't swap this one house for 2 of your old house?
No, definitely not. No, I wouldn't swap it for Buckingham Palace either, for that matter.
From leafy Belsize Park to the heart of the city, my next stop was the home of 2 of architecture's young guns, Richard Portchmouth and Mike Russum. They took 2 tiny Victorian tenements and turned them into these designer apartments, which served both as a place to live and an advert for their work.
Confronted with the classic problem which all young people face today, which is where to find somewhere to live.
We became interested in the idea of getting hold of a whole block such that we could then work on the top floor and design some flats that would be suitable to modern-day living.
When they bought the flats, they were dark, poky and completely unmodernised. So Mike and Richard not only had to completely refurbish, but reorganise the layout to maximise the space and light. Keeping true to the tradition of the building, Mike and Richard's flats are identical in layout and design, mirror images of each other on opposite sides of a dividing wall.
What's the thinking behind the fact that both your flats are so symmetrical, opposites of each other?
At a pragmatic level, it's logical that you don't design two flats, that you design one and replicate it. And in a sense, we rather literally expose that.
The south-facing living room includes a working area suspended a perilous 10 feet above the kitchen sink.
Because of the very, very tight planning in the bathroom, there is not the space, we did not have the space to accommodate the cistern for the toilet in the bathroom, so we've actually located it within the storage zone of the bedroom. So as you can see here,
your toilet cistern is in the bedroom cupboards?
It's in the bedroom cupboards. The wardrobe is behind the two-way door. This door opens to enable an open plan, a through walk from the circulation area of the flat into the bedroom, or closes to make the entrance more private, the bedroom more private, and so that's the two-way door, opens and closes in 2 positions.
So you can have an open plan bedroom or an open plan wardrobe. Do you see your designs as a blueprint for the future, perhaps?
It would be, I would be being very optimistic and hopeful to say yes. Obviously we have to believe that. That's what inspires us to carry on and to do our work and take it as seriously as we do.
Joanna Van Heyningen and Birkin Haward have built a house in North London which is not only a family home but a place to work, and on the top floor is their studio. The house is constructed around a central stairwell. On the next floor down from the studio is Joanna and Birkin's unusual bedroom space, situated high up on a gallery overlooking the main living room. Down to the kitchen dining room, which has windows with blinds that can be opened at weekends to give an open feel and closed on workdays so clients on their way up to the studio don't feel they're intruding. On the ground floor are the two children's rooms which lead straight out onto the garden.
We made the choice to have our bedroom at the top of this big room. It means that every morning when we wake up, we're in this big light space. We're in the biggest, best room in the house every day when we wake up and when we go to bed.
When you build houses, do you try and put galleries in?
I think if you look at our work, galleries is one of our themes, yes. We've always liked putting galleries in. We always like to get the feeling of extra space. It's a house that would actually suit a lot of people. I don't think it's not a one-off, really. The thing we enjoy about the house is it's trying to take a conventional plan, in a sense, and actually make it into something slightly more interesting. And I think, you know...
And is it a prototype for what we're going to see of your work in the future?
Well, we started off wanting to make a bit of an example of this house. This building was on a low budget. It was on the sort of budget that ordinary people have to deal with. And one of the things that all our architecture tries to do is to show that using ordinary materials that ordinary people can get hold of and ordinary budgets, you can do architecture.
You can do it if you know what you're doing. I think
Yes,
what frightens a
yes.
lot of people off is the idea of having an architect or a surveyor that's going to add on horrendous amounts to their budget.
Well, I mean, obviously one or two people give the profession a bad name in that sense, but I think 99% of the time an architect can actually save you money. I think if you involve yourself in the whole process with him and then explain very clearly what you want and get his support and get him working along the right lines, it can actually be very cost effective.
Very nice places. And if you'd like to know a little bit more about how you can do it, write to Living Now, Homeworks Fact Sheet 10565, BSB, PO Box 350, Leeds LS99 2BS.
Do let us know what you think of Homeworks, because on Now, the channel for living, you watch and we listen.
We certainly do. We'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And just a reminder, if you'd like that fact sheet 10565, please send a large stamped addressed envelope to BSB, PO Box 350, Leeds LS99 2BS. That's BSB, PO Box 350, Leeds LS99 2BS. Next on Now, the latest financial news from the United States in American Business Today.
Roll up for the greatest show on earth. From Canada, the Royal Winnipeg Ballet performs the world's most exciting circus dance. The Big Top is your next Saturday's performance at 8 on Now. The Australian Opera presents The Mikado.
Here's a pretty mess in the month of less. I must die without her wedding. Let the bitter tears I'm shedding witness my distress. Here's what I'll never.
A new treatment of a Gilbert and Sullivan classic, The Mikado, is this Sunday's opera at 8 on Now.
You're watching Now. It's 11 o'clock and time to join Doug Ramsey for American Business Today.